What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Force Strategy Gaming. Time for some more StarCraft 2 commentary. Today we will be looking at a series between I am MVP and Sen. We've got MVP spawning in the lower left-hand position here on Antigua Shipyard as our Blue Terran player, and down in the lower right is Sen as the Red Zerg player. Yes, this is going to be a series here between MVP and Sen. Once more starting off here on Antigua Shipyard. It does appear like Sen will be sending his Overlord into that lower left-hand position, at which point he will be scouting out where MVP is located. So very shortly, Sen will be fully aware of MVP's location, and as long as MVP manages to see the Overlord as well, then he will know exactly where Sen is, given on the position that the Overlord is moving from and everything like that. Fairly basic stuff. I'm sure it's stuff that you guys know by now. So it is Halloween weekend, the weekend right before All Hallows Eve, and hopefully you guys have some great plans. I'm very excited to have my friends over for a little Halloween get-together. It's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great weekend. Also going to be doing a little series that is Halloween-based, so stay tuned for that as well. Back over here inside of the front of MVP's base, we can see MVP will be going off for that full wall off. He did go with 10 depot and 12 racks, and let's take a look if he decides to get that 13 refinery or not, or if he will be going 1 racks expand. No, it does look like he is in fact in that refinery, so opening up fairly standard thus far. And back over here for Sen, it looks like we will be seeing a 15 hatch from him. He is feeling fairly comfortable early on here, coming out with that 15 hatch, and then following that up with that spawning pool, and eventually, of course, the extractor. Very, very cool indeed. Also, the Overlord out here. One thing that you definitely need to do is make sure that you're able to spot that hatchery that is being built. Get some vision around it. As you can see, the actual vision around the hatchery itself is very, very small. So getting vision around that, or even just at the front of your ramp, lets you see if you're dealing with any harass from that Terran player. Obviously, Marine bunker harass can be very frustrating. Even Reaper bunker harass, not quite as prevalent, but you do see that every now and then. So usually using that second Overlord, as we saw Sen do, to spot out your ramp or just right above your hatchery is a good way to see if you're dealing with any of that harass at all. Sen, of course, did go extractor first. As we can see here, he's got that up and fully saturated. Now what that's going to mean for Sen is that once that spawning pool finishes, he will have the Vespene necessary to be able to come out with that metabolic boost instantly. Back over here, MVP now having that full wall off. He's still got an Overlord in his base. He's able to shoot that away with that first Marine, and the Overlord gets away nice and safely. Also, that second Marine is out right now for MVP, and he is headed towards Sen's base with that. In fact, actually, never mind, deciding to stop there at the front of his ramp to that natural expansion. This will allow him to deal with any additional scouts that do happen to work their way right on up there, so Sen won't be able to get any drone scouts up inside of MVP's base anytime soon. Taking a look back over here for MVP, we can see he will be opening up with some Hellions. We've got that reactor coming out, and that factory is building as well. We're going to be seeing a hot swap with that, and this is very likely to lead into an expansion, and it looks like that is in fact happening. Now, you saw MVP was initially trying to actually get that expansion down here in the natural, but decided instead to head back in and build that in his main. A lot safer. Also, of course, you hide the fact that you are going for that expansion when you build it inside of your main. So that's the entire purpose behind that. An interesting decision there by MVP. The trade-off, of course, being that if you build it down here, you can get to mining much quicker, but you hide the fact that you're going for that expansion if you build it in your main, like I just said. So anyways, yes, we can see double Hellions coming out here of this factory. Also, a Tech Lab getting dropped on that racks right now. He'll be sticking with just this for the time being. This is going to be pretty resource intensive, what he's doing at the moment, so I'm not likely to see a starport anytime immediately, but that might come into play sometime relatively soon. Also probably going to be expecting either a few more factories or racks, depending on whether or not he decides to go bio heavy or mech heavy. Although, do keep in mind, he is still just on that 1 refinery, so bio heavy is what I'm assuming. I will be expecting a lot of Marines from him. He could surprise me. Who knows? Who knows indeed. We've got the SCV scout heading back inside of the main base of Sen. And with that, he's just scouting out the fact, okay, there's no Baneling nest, well, there's a Roach Warren right there up front, but there's no Baneling nest. So now he's got a clear idea of what to expect here from Sen moving forward. With those first 2 Hellions, we'll be getting a few shots off on that Queen. The Queen needs to be careful not to go too far and try to engage those Hellions off the creep. Now, there is enough speed links to deal with just 2 Hellions, but look, as we can see, there are now 4. Transition for MVP is going to be Marine Tank. We've got 4 Roaches about to pop right now. Here go those Hellions, and again, trying to just get some shots off on those that Queen there. Queen's having nothing to do with that, though. Decided to pull on back. Really doesn't want to engage at all. But now that we've got some roaches in place, it's going to be much easier here for Sen. Now, Sen is coming out with a lot of roaches. He's got 5 about to pop, 4 in play already. So he will be sitting at 9 roaches. That is incredibly roach heavy, and that is leading me to believe, actually, that Sen will be planning some early game aggression. Really don't expect that many roaches. If we're thinking about Hellion defense, he's usually getting about 2 to 3. That's kind of the typical number that you'll be looking at if you're just going for straight up roach as your Hellion defense. Usually 2 to 3, and then if you see a heavy roach push, if you see a heavy Hellion push coming, then you mount up a few more roaches. But given the fact that he's gone with this many roaches and those 18 speedlings that are just about to pop, this is telling me right now that Sen is planning to hit. Now what he's going to want to do is use those roaches to bust through that wall and then get those speedlings right inside of the main base. One big problem right now for MVP is he is nowhere near that siege tech finishing. Now, siege tanks will still be very strong against those roaches. That is heavy DPS coming from them, especially that they are misrallied right here and taking a few extra shots from the high ground. But here we go, roaches moving on up. Going to be trying to bust through that wall, and he's getting very close. SCV mass repair coming out in just one moment, and MVP with that mass SCV repair able to prevent those roaches from busting through. That's a major issue. We still have a couple Hellions over here. It doesn't look like any Hellions managed to actually push on into the main or anything like that. I don't believe that happened. No, it did not. So the Hellions now just trying to cut off speedling reinforcements. We just have those 2 left. Looks like those other 2 got taken care of, but that was unbelievable play there by MVP, managing to stop that roach speedling push from busting through. It was just beautiful position of his units and allowing his SCVs to get up on that supply depot and get a full repair there, and that was just nuts. Very, very nice defense there from MVP. Trying to move back with a few of his forces. Those Hellions going to be catching a couple speedlings in transit. Roaches trying to push them back at the moment. Now, the problem for Sen is that he was so committed to that, and he didn't do much damage at all, that he's going to be behind economically because he invested so many resources in those speedlings and roaches, and as such wasn't droning up. In addition to that, you can see he's on the losing end in terms of resources lost right now. We've got another push coming from MVP. This is going to be his counter push. Now, he does have siege tech in play, no stim pack or anything like that, but that siege mode is going to help so much now, setting up shop there. Now, he needs to be careful about roaches on the high ground, actually being able to snipe down some of those tanks, and that'd be very smart if we could see Sen do that, but it doesn't look like he's prepared to do that at the moment. Queens and Speedlings pushing forward. We got those roaches as well. There are too many tanks, though. This is not going to stand a chance, and that tank line just shredding through that, plus that Marine DPS. That was completely one-sided. We have got stim pack research coming out. Sen is so far behind right now, and MVP is setting up a very strong contain, of which Sen just does not have the forces to contend with. That roach warren about to get dropped. We've got a bunch of speedlings coming out. Also, that Carpiece level 1 upgrade for Sen. But this is not looking good at all. There's too many Marines, too many siege tanks, and he's got too few units to defend. A couple of drones and Queens pushing out, trying to get us around and do as much damage as possible, trying to force splash damage against MVP's units, but realizing that's not doing much of anything and calling the GG. At 7:30 in-game time, we saw Sen push out with a heavy roach speedling push, trying to bust MVP's wall, letting his speedlings get in. However, with some very nice unit positioning here, plus allowing for a mass SCV repair on this depot, MVP was able to prevent this push from getting through. He had the DPS to force those roaches back. The roaches could have target fired those SCVs, but there was just too much damage going down on them, and that eventually led to a counter push, which forced Sen to call the GG. That was game number 1 here between Sen and MVP. We'll be moving on to game number 2 in just one moment. As always, guys, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.